Hi, I'm Doug Fields, and I want to thank you for listening to this audio training from Youth Leader Training on the Go. Unfortunately, conflict is a reality for anyone who deals with people. Since we're human, we all make mistakes and wind up hurting others. We get angry and impulsive. We let fear and insecurities get the best of us. Sometimes we just wake up on the wrong side of the bed and say something we regret. That's life. And when that life intersects with your role as a volunteer youth worker, there will be conflicts within your ministry. If you haven't had conflict in your youth ministry yet, congratulations. But before you get too excited, let me warn you that it's coming right around the corner. Even though conflict is a part of every human relationship, resolving conflict successfully doesn't happen very often. Most avoid conflict at all costs. A few go looking for conflicts, but neither of those options is healthy. In youth ministry, you're going to have conflict with students and parents and maybe each other in your ministry. Resolving conflict is an important skill to develop in order to build a healthy youth ministry team. Conflict resolution can make an impact on your ministry effectiveness. Your diligence to evaluate your conflict approach ahead of time may help you understand how you also need to change your own attitude or actions. The way you choose to deal with conflict may also enhance and/or decrease your credibility. When you handle conflict poorly, students may not trust you to be a credible leader, and your effectiveness may suffer. While this may bruise an ego, the true tragedy is the impact of poor conflict resolution on the entire ministry. Since youth ministry results in frequent conflicts, there's good news. You will have many opportunities to hone your conflict resolution skills. Prior to responding to a conflict, you should first decide whether or not the problem is worthy of your time and attention. In many conflicts, although I've been unhappy about something, the offense is not worth arguing over. I've learned to let it go, and I continue to learn this to this day. If you address everything that you don't like, you will get the reputation of being a whiner and a fighter, and people will ultimately avoid you. However, if you only speak up when you feel something absolutely must be dealt with, you'll probably be taken more seriously. But that's always a personal call. It's hard to find a balance between avoiding and confronting. So here are two suggestions. One, ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen if I don't step in and make this a conflict? Or two, ask for somebody else's perspective. If you decide an issue is worth your attention, make an extra effort to be humble. Conflicts can lead to some real healing and growth, but without humility, the whole interaction could go south in a hurry. Be sure to pray and ask God for humility. Next, consider carefully what exactly is bothering you. When it comes time to deal with the conflict, you want to be as clear as possible. The conflict conversation will be tough enough without miscommunication that often comes from not sorting out how you feel. Be aware of how you feel, and if possible, have some specific examples of behavior to share with the other person. Deal with one situation or issue at a time. In many conflicts, side issues are brought into the picture to either attack or explain, and while other situations may reveal a pattern, it's best to deal with one issue at a time. You can keep a conversation from getting sidetracked by saying, "You may be right about that, but let's get back to the other issue and deal with that one first." Also consider the intensity you're bringing to the conversation. The way you choose to deal with conflict is just as important as deciding which conflicts you address. Determine how strong you're going to approach the other person. To illustrate, if you use a hammer to kill a mosquito on your friend's arm, your friend is going to be angrier about your method than the fact that he had a mosquito on his arm. Try to handle conflict in a way that helps both sides welcome an agreed resolution. I ask my youth ministry volunteers to try their best to resolve conflict in person. Withdrawing from the situation to get time to think and then calmly re-engaging the person is often the best approach to use. The problem with other methods of conflict resolution like email or phone or answering machines is that you cannot unsend an email or take back a message on an answering machine. But when you handle a conflict in person, words are typically chosen more carefully, and body language can help communicate what you can't verbalize. Finally, forgiveness is a necessary part of conflict. You need to be ready to forgive and ready to ask for forgiveness. Many times conflicts happen in the heat of the moment, and you wouldn't have taken the whole time to carefully think through a rational thought process. But if you approach the whole thing with humility, then things should work out. Please be careful with how you deal with your discontent. You may have a legitimate concern, but please be gentle. Many lead youth workers are juggling lots of responsibility, and many of them are outside of their gift mix, so they're really overwhelmed. One really important principle is to reduce your complaining to other leaders and church members. You don't need to lobby and politic to gather support. Divisiveness in the church is sin. While poor leadership is unwise and warrants correction, please find a way to offer your counsel without being divisive. It's important that a youth ministry team make it a goal of becoming more strategic about how they deal with conflict. Not only will your students be impacted, but your youth ministry will be a happier place to be around. Thanks again for taking the time to listen and learn, and thank you for loving God and pointing students toward a life-changing relationship with Jesus. Thanks for doing what you do.